Good morning. Welcome. Welcome to Imagine Your Life with Jenny Lynn McKinnon. I am a registered nurse, mother, grandmother, hypnotherapist, and instructor of hypnotherapist, and I am always studying the mind. And today I'm going to talk about how is it that we can imagine your life and then create your life? I'm going to be talking about one of the most important parts of our brain called the amygdala. It's a big word for me to say anyway. The amygdala is at the base of the brainstem. I don't want to get into too much science today, but I am going to be referencing brain science. And I don't even want to take time today to show you charts and go into more charts and details. Today, I want to open up this space and help you learn and understand how your brain, your subconscious, is either working for you or against you, because you are either master of your subconscious or slave to it. We're also going to be talking about today within the amygdala, which is located at the base of the brainstem. It is the part of the brain that has been with us the longest. When I say been with us, I mean the whole human race through all of its development and metamorphoses that our bodies have been through over the generations and the generations of time. The amygdala is designed as a safety feature to keep us safe and to keep us right. And today we're going to be talking about the third law of the subconscious, which is safety at all cost. It is constantly looking for a safe place. And I apologize if you're getting glare off my glasses. I'm wearing a different pair of glasses today. And I'll be doing a lot of referencing from my notes. And so I am going to keep my glasses on. So my apologies. Anyway, moving on. We're going to be talking about the reticular activating system, which is located within the amygdala, which is located at the base of the brain, at the brain stem. Within that reticular activating system is something that scientists refer to as the SN network, or the salience network, which is a network of neurons in the brain stem that regulate the sleep-wake cycles. It regulates arousal, attention, where priorities are located in this reticular activating system that is run as part of this salience network. If you're talking to a brain scientist, that's how they would refer to it. I'm going to refer to the whole unit in our brain as our reticular activating system. It's responsible for analyzing incoming information and filtering out what's relevant and important. It also connects the conscious and the subconscious parts of the brain together. So we're going to talk more about that, but as an overview for what we're going to be discussing today, we're going to talk about how the brain creates safety. And if the brain does not feel safe, it will revert to old mechanisms that it thought was going to make it safe, which go back all the way back to when we were the wild men in the Sahara and hunting and we had to, our predators, you had to be smart. You had to keep yourself protected and safe. And so your brain was working overhaul so that you didn't get eaten by a lion. And within that created this safety mechanism within the reticular activating system that every single person shares. We're also going to be talking about manifesting and consciously creating. And how do we do that? We're going to touch on that just a little bit. And as part of that, that involves mirror work and the power of words and ultimately self-compassion. So we're going, that's our pathway for today. Now, I want to tell you a story that demonstrates how this reticular activating system works and is either working for us or against us. It keeps us in fight or flight or PTSD or rest and relax. I prefer the rest and relax and the consciously create. That's what I prefer. And that's all involved in the reticular activating system. And it is all up to us if we, what direction we get to activate, because we can control the reticular activating system. And how we do that is the first step is with our breathing. We can control our breathing. So even now, if you stop, and as I stop, and just take some deep breaths. 3 seconds in, 3 seconds out. Bring me back to focus and clarity. And some of you that are very intuitive would have noticed the exact shift as I went from, oh my gosh, I have so much information I have to share you. Where do I start? Where would I keep going? How do I go through my notes? To being calm and clarity. And I get my brain working for me instead of against me. And the first step to that happens with your breathing. Now, I want to tell you a story. This is a story about my horse, Duster. I wish I had a picture of him because he is beautiful. He's magnificent. He is a registered American quarter horse. His lineage is that of a professional. He came to me. I love horses, and I have multiple horses, and I have about 40 acres to keep these horses. And I had a friend that knew this that said, "Hey, I have a place that I just need a home for this horse." So let me tell you some of the history of Duster. He was a champion rodeo roping horse. That means he was a cutting horse. That means he could dart fast and in and out, and the cowboy can rope and catch the cow, and the cowboy hops off and hops on. And this is a very well trained horse. This is also a $30,000 horse as just a colt. And this horse was well trained, so well trained that he and his owner, and she was a cowgirl, they were traveling all over the country of the United States and winning rodeo competitions. And he was the champion. And he had just come from winning the national champion rodeo championship in roping with his rider and master. And they were driving home from Las Vegas, Nevada, and they had a head-on collision. Boom. And the truck and trailer overturned. It's actually very sad because his rider and master and owner died. She was the trainer. She died. And the horse broke his front upper leg right below the hip on that bone. Now, any of you associated with horses know that once a horse breaks its leg, that horse is generally not any good anymore. And they just, for the best comfort of the horse, they have to put the horse down. And in this case, because the family had just lost their daughter and they were devastated, and as the vets looked at the horse and the location of the break, they said, we can just prop this horse, we can let this leg heal, and there's still value in this horse. This horse was, this was a very expensive horse, and a lot of time and commitment and love went into this horse, and they just could not bear to lose this horse, which I'm so grateful for, because now this horse, Duster, is my horse. But a long story short, they took this horse, did the surgical repair, the horse healed, put it out to pasture for 5 years. It was kind of neglected, forgotten about. And then finally they said, we have to do something with Duster. This isn't good for the horse. So they sold the horse to a trainer, and his purpose was he wanted to train this horse and get this horse back to being what it was, at least a little bit what it was. And so then he worked with this horse for a year. But this horse, one thing that he could not train out of this horse was this instant post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD, response in the horse whenever it feels like it's trapped and encased. Now this horse, it tipped over in a trailer, it broke his leg. Very traumatic for the horse. It's been through a lot, and then it was put out to pasture and neglected, and it had lost its owner. And so the level of trust of this horse was not very high. So the trainer worked with it for a year, and then said, I can't have riders on this horse be safe and have this horse work with children, that was his intentions. Because every time the horse feels trapped, and when you've got the halter on and you've got a lead rope, if that horse if it startled for anything, if a butterfly landed on its nose, irritated by a fly, it would activate its PTSD response, and the horse jumps backwards. It jumps backwards even to the fact that even if it's tied up with the rope to the trailer and that rope doesn't come loose, it will pull the trailer 30 feet. Horses are big and strong, magnificent, and Duster is a magnificent animal. How can I tell you that? Because that's exactly what this horse has done. So the trainer said, I just need a home for this horse. I don't want it to go to the glue factory. Would you take this horse? And I said, absolutely. I have the land, I have the space. If I can't do anything with this horse, I'll give it a good life, and it will be happy among my little herd. And so I took the horse. Well, I fell in love with this horse. So loving, so affectionate. And we have now worked with this horse for almost 2 years that I've had Duster. And I also train kids to ride. And in a controlled environment, I'll tell you, Duster is magnificent. He is so good and calm. He's my best trained horse. And all of that old training comes into play once we have a rider on his back and he feels safe. But the moment that horse does not feel safe, it immediately jumps backwards. And like I mentioned, so I have to train everyone I work with. I'm training kids, I'm training horses, I'm training dogs so my kids, and I'm very careful with Duster because I have to have a quick release on every rope that is attached to that horse. Because if it gets startled and you're saddling that horse, or it's just standing in place and it's haltered and it's roped and tied up, it's going to jump back. And the moment that it jumps back and Duster feels like it can't, if the horse would just stop, then it would be calm. But when there's resistance, he pulls back and pulls back and pulls back and pulls back, even to the point that I had to chase this horse as it's pulling a trailer. And I have MS. I don't run very fast, but that day I was amazing and ran really fast. up to my horse and stood in front of my horse and said, "Stop, Duster." And the third time of me standing in front of him and saying, "Stop," the horse made eye contact with me and trust me enough that he stopped and he became calm and calmed down. And then I was able to calm the horse and undo the rope. And we learned a very valuable lesson that that horse always has to be on a quick release, cannot feel trapped in any way. Now, having said that, I've also had experiences of that with people. Just like people are so much like horses, or horses are so much like people. However that works out, we're very much the same in even our physical body and components. Our emotional system, that's why equine therapy and horse therapy is so valuable and important. And that's really what I do with my students. I'm having them brush the horse. I'm having them filter those emotions through the horse and calm the horse. And as I've had more kids working with this horse, it's helped this horse calm this horse. Well, just like what's happening with that horse, and just like what happens with people with PTSD, is we get our reticular activating system is always looking for comfort. Well, this horse had a traumatic event, and so it was imprinted with trauma that, oh my gosh, I have to keep resisting because more trauma is coming, more trauma is coming. I have to move back, move back, move back. And then it sabotages everything good in his life, like the apples that I'm holding in front of him. The calm and the safety that is found within the trailer, right? So there's, for people, when we have a stressful event, the reticular activating system goes into survival mode and is always looking for safety. So how does that affect our manifesting? How does that affect our conscious creating when we want to create something that we do want? Well, with hypnotherapy, when I'm working with someone and they want to have peace in their life, they want to be happy, they want to be successful. But when we come up against a survival mechanism, meaning there's a part of their brain that was imprinted that perhaps as a child, and this is extreme, but it's a truthful example, that as a child, told, especially in the specific example I'm going to use, it actually is an example from my own life, that as a small child, there was sexual abuse happening underneath the layers. And I was programmed as a small child, do not tell. If you tell, I will hurt you. If you tell, you will die. Now, what does a small child do when there's an authority figure saying to that? Of course, I'm not going to tell because I believe them. And that's where the subconscious, if you remember from our show last week, that it accepts everything that they experience as truth, especially when it's coming from an authority figure. And it gets imprinted into this reticular activating system. And when there's an imprint like that, it's already programmed to go to the negative. So then it just magnifies that belief. Well, then now as an adult, and I spent the second 20 years of my life recovering from the first 20 years, and now I'm 54, and I've spent the last 14 years thriving and soaring, and that's where I want you to be. But I had to calm my reticular activating system. I had to calm the amygdala. I had to learn to breathe. So then in real life, I'm standing up to give a speech, And I feel like, oh, oh my gosh, this is scary. People are looking at me. I don't think I can do this. And what happens? I get so scared. I can't talk, I can't think, and I pass out. Some of you out there have had that experience with public speaking. It is the number one fear of people in America, probably as all humans. In fact, they'd rather die than speak in public, which becomes why it's so important to overcome that fear. And now I speak all the time in front of groups. But what have I had to do? I had to calm my reticular activating system, take control of my amygdala, and breathe. Now, I want to talk about, I'm going to go back to this amygdala, the reticular activating system. It connects the conscious and the subconscious parts of the brain. It controls your sleep-wake cycle. It controls attention. What's getting attention? Now, in the case of me public speaking, I wanted to give my message. I wanted to speak clearly. But guess what? My brain just went into overload and said, oh my gosh, this is too much. This is not safe. This is not safe. We just have to check out. and then you can't think clearly, you don't get oxygen to the brain, and in the worst case, you pass out. Well, it activates that survival mechanism, and it prioritizes that, oh my gosh, we have to get to safety. And unless you take those, you have 17 seconds before the subconscious brain just takes over. And so in those 17 seconds, you can breathe. And when you breathe, you bring clarity to the mind and your thoughts. And then you can control and send a new message that says, oh, that was then. And yes, that happened in the past, but it's not happening now. Now I am safe. I'm standing in front of an audience that is here to listen to my message and loves me. And it brings safety and calm, and my mind will then revert to what I do want. And then I get my subconscious working for me instead of against me. Now, another example of that survival mechanism and how it filters out that irrelevant information so you can focus on what's important for your survival is if a tiger is about to attack you, your RAS, reticular activating system, will help you focus on running away. And if you want it to focus on, I'm going to give this speech and I'm going to deliver my message, then we breathe. And then it transmits another message, which then calms the mind and brings clarity to your thoughts. The reticular activating system also transmits sensory messages to the cerebral cortex through the thalamus. That's just brain technologies, things in your brain. And it controls your fight or flight response, which is what we've been talking about today. The neurotransmitters in this RAS include serotonin, your dopamine, noradrenaline, your histamine, all of those. It can go either way. Your brain is a chemical factory, and it's the messages that you think that delivers the message to the reticular activating system, which then, or your amygdala, within the amygdala, which then tells your brain what chemicals to produce and strengthen, which then it can help you as you take hold of your breath and your breathing and creating safety. Then you can start to move into manifesting what you do want to achieve. And we do that through mirror work. I talked a lot about mirror work last week in my last episode. With mirror work, you're looking in the mirror, you're telling yourself, I am amazing. I'm going to have a great day. I am a winner. Today is going to be a great day. Today is a great day. I am beautiful. I am smart. I am intelligent. I am powerful. I'm strong. The message is whatever it is that you want to hear. I am a great speaker and people want to hear what I have to say. When I tell myself those messages in front of a mirror, I'm activating my reticular activating system and I'm strengthening those neural connections and rebuilding and rewiring. Sisters, you are actually rewiring your brain and you can reprogram that faulty programming from the past that said that you were powerless, that you were a victim, that you were, oh, I don't want to go into the negative. You know, the negative. We get to change those messages. And one of the most powerful ways is through mirror work. Just looking into the mirror, looking yourself deep into your eyes. I'm going to remove my glasses. Deep into your eyes and say, I am a winner. I am enough. And what I did yesterday was enough. And what I'm doing today is enough. I'm doing my best. When you tell yourself those messages, you strengthen that reticular activating system and you rewire your brain. You create safety. And the brain, when it goes to safety, then it can be safe to move into public speaking. It can be safe to go to a conference and to take a class, to learn something new, to take risk with your finances. It's all about calming that reticular activating system, that fight or flight response within the body. And the main way we do that, the number one way, is through our breathing and then taking action, solidifying, strengthening those messages, and taking control of your self-talk. Now we're coming up to the end, and I just want to end with the most important thing you can do is to get your subconscious working for you instead of against you. And the most powerful tool that I have is as you go to sleep at night, if you will repeat in your mind the phrase, every day in every way, I get better and better, repeated 10 times, one for each finger, as your fingers touch the mattress and you prepare for sleep. Every day in every way, I get better and better. In this way, let's say you have a really bad day, and because the last thing you think about is what the brain processes all night long as you sleep, if you have a really bad day and you go to bed thinking about that really bad day, now all that information gets filed into a file called How to Have a Bad Day. And the next day you are bound to have another bad day, which equals, compounded over time, many bad weeks, months, years, and a crappy life. But just by changing that one thing before you go to sleep, you say, oh, wow, I had a hard day today. But every day in every way, I get better and better. Now you've given the brain a problem to solve, and that is, how can I be better tomorrow than today? And now all that information while you sleep, the very same bad day, nothing changed, except that you're going to bed and saying, oh, tomorrow's a new day. I can do better tomorrow than I did today. And now your brain is going to go to work to solve the problem of how can I be better tomorrow than today? And tomorrow you will wake up just a little bit better. And you compound that over time, and that equals wonderful days, great weeks, great months, and an amazing life. You want to change your life? Change your thoughts. I love you. I'm so glad that you joined me this morning. I'm now going to stop the recording and open it up for more questions. And I appreciate all of you that are on this morning and have joined me in the wee mornings here in Utah. Thank you very much and have a wonderful day.